It's so good to see you again. I've just been chopping trees, trying to get ready for my next project, and let's talk about that. So, I started my monarchy in the last episode, but you know what every good monarchy needs? Loyal subjects. But not just any loyal subjects. These fellows must have jobs, and they must be able to provide for me what I require in order to continue bettering this community. So I am on a mission to grow my following for the greater good of this economy. You see, I have needs, and those needs include Fortune 3, Silk Touch, and Feather Falling 4. I can't risk all my precious levels just to potentially get a pickaxe with only Unbreaking 3. Alas, I require control over my enchantments, and if I'm to become the most powerful monarch, then I must be able to ensure my power. Need I say more? The objective today is to multiply my followers and firmly suggest that they acquire a profession that suits my needs. I want the breeder to be pretty close to my house, and I had been using this space before for tree chopping, so I figured I'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone and get a ton of wood in the process while clearing out this space for the breeder. There were a couple of dips in the terrain, so I'm just gonna fill these in and flatten it out so that I have a little bit more space to work with. And using the path blocks, I'm able to kind of get an idea of where I want the entrance for this build to be in relationship to my house. So first off, I'm imagining a circular greenhouse for the breeder with a side building to access it. I'm going ahead and laying out the framework for the side building to get a better idea of how big I can make the greenhouse. Ultimately though, I want to get the breeder up and running first so that I can keep an eye on it and make sure it's working as I finish the side building. It took a couple of tries, but I settled on a circle that was about 17 blocks in diameter. I didn't really have any plan for the roof at this point, and I started to realize that it was going to be way more visible from the living room window than I had anticipated, so I decided to test out a shallow dome roof using copper. I like how the copper works with the block palette, but I'm quickly running out of copper as well as coal to smelt what I do have left, and at this point I need something more renewable than coal. Do you often find yourself searching for coal all day only to come back sore from all that mining? And how does it all disappear so quickly? What you need is a lava farm. Now you can walk away and let the fuel collect for you. Turn any alcove into a fuel trove. A lava farm can make infinite fuel, yet takes up the space of an average villager house. Its simple design uses cauldrons to collect the lava, so you never have to go searching again. And because you use a bucket to collect the lava, you never have to replace the cauldron. You get the lava farm cauldrons with 11 dripstone blocks and 11 pointed dripstone, all for the low price of 55 iron ingots. But wait! Order now and we'll throw in 11 lava buckets to get you started for free. Not responsible for fire outbreaks, buckets not included. And now that I have plenty of fuel, I was able to spend my time mining focused on copper, so now I can get back to working on the villager breeder. I frequently checked the view from the living room window and ultimately decided I wanted to try and incorporate a bell tower into the build. It seems fitting since bells are typically at the center of each village and this is where all the villagers come from. To break up the oak and copper, I decided to use raw tough blocks in the build. And I continued the dome shape for the roof of the bell tower. For the details, I used mostly oak trapdoors as well as some chains and lanterns, and I used some oak leaves to help break up the elevation on each side just to add some variety. Now, at this point, I decided to do a little bit more work on the side building, but none of it ended up sticking, so I'll show you what I have just for clarity's sake, but we'll touch base on this a little bit more later. And now it's time to start getting this breeder prepped to move the villagers in. After I got the walls all glassed in, I marked out where I planned on having the collection system placed, as well as the collection system for the crop farm, which didn't end up working, but we'll talk more about that later. After I moved all 3 villagers into the breeder, I went ahead and set up the crop farm, and there was a little bit of trial and error to get the villagers properly breeding and working as they should, but it all worked out in the end. Now, at this point, I would typically give you a tour of the completed build, but like I mentioned earlier, I was having a little bit of trouble coming up with a design for the side building that I was happy with, and a lot of the times when I just can't find an idea to stick with, I like to redirect and work on something else just to give my brain a break. So with that being said, we are going to switch gears and start working on giving these villagers jobs. Richard, I finally finished the Librarian trading hall. I know. They're not the most spacious living conditions, but you know they can't be trusted not to get into trouble. Wait, you saw the horse head? No, I seriously just found it on the ground. I would never hurt you or another horse, Richard. I promise. You have nothing to worry about. Soon enough, I will make you a much nicer stable. You'll see. You're going to love it. Wait, did you hear that? Now that the Librarian Trading Hall is up and running, there's really only one thing left to do. I mentioned earlier that the side building for the villager breeder was just not working out, so I think it's time to switch gears and try something different. Really, the only reason why the side building was needed was so that there was a place to put the beds for the breeder to work, and a place to collect the crops for when I don't need the breeder to be running anymore. Near the breeder is a tall hill with a villager house that felt very disconnected from the rest of the village, so I figured I would try to solve the problem by terraforming up to the hill. This way I can connect the hilltop house to the rest of the village, along with creating a basic space to place the beds and access the crop farm storage. After I was happy with the layout and flow, I went back in and started to add some depth to the side of this new cliff I created. At the rear of the villager breeder is a drop-off into some caves, so I was inspired to create a river that connects into the main body of water and trails into the drop-off. Cutting through this new cliff with a river gave me the opportunity to create an entrance to the breeder underneath, and I decided that I wanted this space to feel like a little grotto. Once everything was starting to take shape, I got to work texturing up the formations and adding lighting throughout. I decided to add a little campsite at the entrance of the breeder, cause you never know when you're going to need a place to sleep. I added a really simple and quick bridge over the river in a couple of places since I don't have any official plans for the spaces they lead to just yet. There's another hill in the village with a lone house that I had previously made a basic staircase up to, but I decided to quickly fix up the edge of the hill so it looked more finished, and overall I like how the river essentially connects the twin hills together. Now that all that is finally taken care of, I think it's time to officially give you the tour. I think it makes the most sense to start where the time lapse just ended. So I'm going to go up to this hill and show where the river is running through. So it runs through this way and comes out into this main body of water over here. And I decided to connect with a bridge, as you saw before, and right now it just leads into this overflowing cow storage area. There's a couple sheep sprinkled in, but right now there's not much going on this side of the river, but that will change very soon once I have the chance to focus more on that. But for now, we are just leading into this side, and it just does what it needs to do. It gets you across the water, and that's really all I'm worried about right now. I'm going to swim into the grotto. So we have the campsite over here, and then this side is just for vibes. There's not much use for it, but maybe I'll throw in some armor stands or something later. We'll see. This is how you get into the villager breeder. So I actually have it turned off right now. So right now, instead of making villagers, it is just producing crops. I had 3 guys before, so I had 2 over there that were doing the breeding, and then I had 1 guy here who was supposed to collect crops. Turns out they don't really pay attention to that guy whenever there's 2 in here, so the crop portion barely worked at all. But at some point, this guy turned into a zombie, and I think what ended up happening is I had my replay mod running, and I was AFKing so that I could get some more villagers, because I think I had run out and was working on assigning them jobs. So I had paused the recording. Next thing I know, it clips in the replay footage, and he is a zombie, and then there's a zombie up on this ladder up here. So I'm just assuming the guy walked up when this was still exposed, turned him into a zombie, and then at the time my replay wasn't recording. So if I had footage for that, I would throw it in, but really all I have is it just clips and he's a zombie out of nowhere, and it really freaked me out at first, and then I was like, I must have paused it. So right now we've got some wheat and carrots. I started out with wheat and then tried to turn it into carrots, and he just insists on turning it back into wheat, which honestly I'm not that worried about. Not that big of a deal. But on this side, so basics of villager breeder, this is how I understand it. You need farm, you need a hole for the villagers to drop down in with trapdoors, and you need a trapdoor that makes it a little under 2 blocks so that only the babies can pass through. And then on the other side of hole, you put all of the beds so that it signals to them that they need to make more villagers. And once you figure out the basics of a farm, I find it's a lot easier to start customizing it. So this isn't my first custom villager breeder, and I'm sure I'll make many more in the future, but right now this is where all of the villagers are stored. So you can see I have way too many, so many that they're starting to freak out and glitch across the water. I don't know what's going on, but we're just not going to pay attention to that and close this up. And I have these trapdoors flipped down right now so that he can't see the zombie and start freaking out. So just blocking the line of sight. And to get to the crop storage, it's just down this trapdoor. It's starting to collect. It's mostly been the bread that's collecting right now because before it was barely running. I had these just for breeding them more, but this isn't a good example of how much has actually come through because some of that was already just sitting in there. And I really haven't done much in here. Honestly, wasn't really worried about it because I don't plan on coming down to this portion very often except for to either turn it back into a breeder or to get to the crops, but I don't really need to come down here much, so I probably won't do anything with that in the future. I'd like to say that I will, but we'll see. So we came in from that way. Now we're gonna head out this way. So this is the little drop off that I was talking about. So back here there's this opening and it just goes down into the caves, and I wanted to see a waterfall going down, so that's why I decided to pull in a river, because it made no sense just to have water coming out of nowhere in my mind, so I needed to connect it to something. So I figured it would be the perfect opportunity to connect it into the main body of water and cut through this cliff so that it had a little more purpose than to just be a blob of gray rocks. Back here, I have 2 areas where I do some tree chopping, just very dense forest, so that I can get a lot of oak at once if I need to. And then back up here is the house. So I'm gonna go ahead and give a quick glance over. I did just fix some of the copper so it wasn't as oxidized anymore, and I think that I like the color that it adds. It's already starting to oxidize more though, so I need to get some wax or honeycomb as soon as possible so that I can lock those in, but right now it's just a manual process and we'll make it more permanent later. Now to get to the Librarian trading hall, so I go down these stairs. This is where the lava farm is, and this is how you get to my storage of Richard. I need to get him something better later, but right now I just needed a place to keep him from wandering off. Now down these stairs, I had mentioned previously that these stairs go all the way down to deep slate. I'm not going to go all the way down just because it takes a while, but for the most part it all looks the same except for the walls change from cobblestone to cobbled deep slate. But other than that, it's all the same layout. It's like 3 bays down and then it switches back. And I have some Fletchers down here that I was using to get some more emeralds throughout the process as I was giving these librarians their jobs, because I needed emeralds to buy the bookshelves and to make more lecterns, because I did not feel like using all my sugarcane and my cows to make lecterns anymore. So this is a librarian trading hall. This down here is how you get to the villager breeder. I'll go ahead and run down here. So this is my storage of villagers. Right now they're all adults, which is good, but sometimes when they were turning into babies too much, they weren't catching on the minecart that I would send down there, so I had to break the glass and kind of bop out some of the older ones. But I do have a couple on standby as well. And yeah, I have more than enough for the time being, and then if I start using these guys and I need to make more, I'll just rearrange the upper portion of the farm again and get it going. This is the Librarian trading hall, and I don't think I showed this very well, but I did almost like, I feel like it looks like a sun in a way. It's more like a circle, but to me I like to think of it as like a sun or a star. Little design in the ceiling with the leaves, and I wasn't really planning on doing that. It just kind of came out as I was working on it, and I like how it turned out, so I wanted to show that real quick. But I have all of the librarians down up here. I have some storage. I do have the mini blocks mod and the I think it's a resource pack. It's like the Wandering Trader mini blocks resource pack, and then I have the more mob heads resource pack because I like using those for decorating. And then back here there is this window that looks into a large body of water. I don't know what you'd call this, like a pond, I guess. I don't know, but so that is right here, and this was just some water that already existed, and I didn't really know that I was going to run into it, but I just happened, so it ended up being a little happy accident to have this window looking out into it. But it's just over here, so there's the drop off and the villager breeder, and then there's this body of water over here. So this is where we are in relation to the rest of the build, or the rest of the house and everything. But I have these 4 guys here because this floor is mirrored below, but these 4 guys from below exist where this entrance is. So entrance, and then down below you have these 4. So I guess I should touch base on the fact that I have 2 of every villager. Now, I decided that I wanted to make this Librarian trading hall because I thought that when we switched to 1.21 that you were not going to be able to do the normal villager assigning process with the librarians, because that's what people had said in the past. I guess they decided to change that, but I wasn't aware, and I figured if I was going to have 1 of each, why not have 2 of each in case something happens to them? Because I plan on this world being like my primary world for all to come. My primary solo world in the future. And I wanted to have all of the librarian trades. That being said, I don't have any of the mace trades because when I was assigning them, it wasn't in 1.21 yet. And I'll get those later, but I'm not really worried about it at this time because I don't have a mace yet. But once I do, I'll think more into getting those assigned and getting a spot made for them. Now, I did also get a dog. This was one of the dogs before the world updated, so he's an OG, and now I think if I wanted this type, I would have to go travel to some biome. I don't even know which one. But so I wanted to go ahead and snatch him before the world updated. And if you have any named suggestions, please leave them in the comments below, because I do want to have a name for him by the next episode. And if you have any suggestions, just let me know. I'll throw them into the mix. But yeah, so here's the bottom level of villagers. Not really like much difference between them, other than the stairs are on this side and the entrance is on that side on the upper portion. I have just a little crafting table, storage area, and a bed down here. And I also have this bed up here that I can climb up and sleep in if I need to. And then I have this leaf wall back here. Lots of oak leaves that I threw in just because it helped break up a lot of the more neutral plain colors and bring some color into the room. So we are going to pretend that this is my office because I want to have a chat about just what's been going on the last couple of months for me. So this build I actually finished a couple of months ago. I think it's been almost 3 months now, and I haven't done any more work in this world since then because I wanted to get these videos edited and out, but life has been quite crazy for me lately. I'm not going to get too much into the details of it, but I have been waiting until these these episodes were ready so that I could move forward with progress in this world, and that is why a lot of this has all been replay mod footage. It was a little challenging to try to make a storyline work with just replay mod, but I think it ended up turning into a different editing style that I had a lot more fun with, and it took me a lot longer to edit in general, but I think I had a lot more fun with it, and I learned a lot more different tricks with the programs I've been using. So in the end, I think it was worth it. But now that I'm able to move forward with progress in this world, I will be live streaming. So my first live streams will be coming very soon. If you want to follow me, they will be on Twitch at Mads Beef, same name. But I will be doing them on Twitch pretty soon. And I've also made a Discord. So if you would like to join the Discord, you can be one of the first. I'm going to link it into the video description below. But if you want to join, we can chat. You can get some updates whenever the new episodes come out and whenever I do go live. So keep an eye out for that. But that is the rundown of what's to come. And again, thank you so much for sticking around with me for this one. Go ahead. Follow me on Twitch if you want to see me live. If you want to subscribe, like the video, let me know what you thought about it. I will be looking for name suggestions for the dog. And again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.